call to order the City of Douglasville City Council Legislative Work Session for tonight, which is Thursday, December the 14th, 2023. Our invocation will be done by the Pastor J.P. of Kingdom Builders Ministry, and then we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by the Mayor Pro Tem City Council Member Terry Miller. Please stand for the invocation.
Our scripture reading for tonight will come from 1 Corinthians chapter number 15, verse number 58. Therefore, my beloved brothers, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord Jesus Christ, knowing that your labor is not in vain. Let us pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, Lord, we thank you, God, for this meeting tonight. God, we ask you, God, that whatever has been discussed, God, that you will breathe on it, God, for the development of this community. God, you know the needs of these people, of the people in this community. God, we ask you, God, that you would give us direction. God, let us know, God, that the work that we're doing, the things that is being put together, God, that is not in vain, God, and that we will see the manifestation of your glory, that lives will be changed during this time of development. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for leading us in the pledge, and thank you, Pastor, for the beautiful invocation. We appreciate that. My name is Rochelle Robinson. I'm Mayor of the City of Douglasville. I'd like to welcome you to our legislative work session. This City Council meeting is a work session where agenda items will be discussed tonight, and we will vote on those items next Monday at our voting meeting. So I'd like to welcome you to our meeting this evening. If the business you're here for is not listed as the agenda item, there will be ample time under the agenda item comments from citizens and delegates for you to discuss your concerns. I'll go over a few protocol issues, and then we'll get into the meat of the meeting. I would ask that you please keep your comments and presentations on a professional level, dealing with the facts that are important for this governing body to make our decisions. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be of a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. You'll receive a warning from the chair, and if you deviate from that warning and this requirement, a second deviation will result in us turning your microphone off. So we just ask that you will not attack any person or persons with your comments. Only one person speaking at a time. Please do not applaud or react to speakers. Speak from the audience, carry on a conversation, or be disruptive while you're at the microphone. We're only required to accept public comments during required public hearings. And if you have a cell phone or electronic device, we ask that you will please put those in silent mode or turn those off until after the meeting so they will not be disruptive. Now, this is how the agenda items will be handled. The committee chairperson will read their agenda item. Then that person representing that agenda item or applicant will make his or her presentation. Myself and council members will probably ask clarifying questions to help us to be able to make our decision on next Monday. After that, the committee chairperson will read the comments or statements from the audience, and there is a maximum of 20 minutes for those in support of an item and 20 minutes for those in opposition, and each person has 5 minutes to speak. We only have one opportunity to come to the microphone per item, and before you speak, we ask that you would please fill out a speaker card. They're outside on the desk. If you fill that green card out, hand it to our city clerk, please, Ms. Vicki Acker to my right. And then when you come to the microphone, give us your name and address for the record, and you have 5 minutes to talk to us. This meeting is not a question and answer format or debate. We're here to just hear the information, deliberate, and make our decision next week. I believe that's it. If you have any printed material, please give that to our city clerk. She will make copies and disseminate that information to us. And again, at the end of the meeting, if there's something that is not covered on the agenda, you can certainly come to us under comments from citizens and delegates, and you have 5 minutes to talk to us about any information that is germane to the city of Douglasville. We'll move on with our agenda items, and if you would like a paper copy, there are some outside, but if not, then you can read on the screen above me. So it will be handled by committees, and we're moving on in our agenda. We've already covered the first 4 items, and now we're at committees. And the first committee is Economic Development Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's no business under the Economic Development Committee at this time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. We'll move on to item number 6, which is Finance Committee, chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have
You're
several
welcome.
items tonight under Finance.
Yes, sir.
We'll start with item A, authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with Tunnel, Spangler and Associates for professional services associated with the Douglasville Downtown Master Plan in the amount of $184,900. Ms. Chelsea Jackson is going to give us information on that item. Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you, Councilman Adams. Chelsea Jackson, 6695 Church Street. As you all remember, in February, during your strategic planning session, one of your goals was to update the downtown master plan. So this will be a proposal to update that downtown master plan for another 10 years. Staff did receive 3 proposals from TSW, CPL, and Tool Design. The selection committee was comprised of 4 staff members. The criteria on scoring was dedicated personnel, firms related previous experience, their approach to their project, the time frame, and the overall cost estimate. After staff graded and scored all these individuals or all the companies, staff is making a recommendation for council to approve TSW to conduct their downtown master plan. One of the things that stuck out from TSW is that TSW had probably almost 100 downtown master plans that they've done. They've done a lot of updates on downtown master plans. They're familiar with the Main Street Committee, and also they just overall knew downtown Douglasville, and they did the last master plan as well. The other 2 firms, they had a variety, but it was more so in the overall comprehensive plans and more plans, but not per se the downtown master plan that we were looking for. So staff is making a recommendation for TSW to be considered.
Okay, thank you. Comments, questions, council, Madam Mayor? You see the bidders, you see the amounts, you see the information that Ms. Jackson has shared with us concerning this. Are there any questions or comments concerning this item? Yes, Coach Watts.
I know we talked about this earlier, but Ms. Jackson could just tell us the high bid, there was a reason why they got the bid. Just kind of briefly tell us about that.
Yes, sir. So TSW was the highest bidder. TSW, they look like they only did downtown master plans. When we saw the overall plans that they've done and they put forth the examples, they did a lot of downtown master plans. The other 2 only did comprehensive plans. They didn't have much experience in conducting downtown master plans in cities and counties similar to our sizes.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Mr. Chairman, that was all I had.
Anyone else? Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know, so their bid was 195.5, but the actual contract is 184.9, so they dropped down even closer to the other bids. What was taken out of their bid proposal to get it down 10,000?
Yes, so they did propose to come to the city of Douglasville to meet staff about 3 times. Of course, as you know, we're still doing virtual meetings a lot of times. So instead of them coming to meet with staff and give an update to staff in person, staff thought it'd be better if we could meet virtually twice and then they meet in person once. So we did remove some of their actual visits to just meet with staff.
So then in the face of their bid, in order to lower their bid, with us having the experience and our staff being experienced with them in other projects, I'm assuming that was a way to streamline it.
Yes.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Something else?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, Ms.
Yes, go ahead, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And that was, Mayor Pro Tem already talked about it with the adjustment for their budget for TSW, but it wasn't an egregious amount. There was a difference anyway. It's still less than $10,000, really under $10,000 between all the bids. So having that previous experience and us having a great relationship already with TSW and them knowing our downtown, I think, goes beyond the price point that's been offered. So I think it's a good recommendation. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any others? No other questions or comments? I would like to place this on the consent agenda to see if we can minimize the agenda since we have so much on it on Monday. Anyone? Any reason why we should not? Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll move on then, Ms. Jackson, to item B, and you just stay right there. Authorize the mayor to sign an agreement with Goodwin Mills Kaywood LLC for consultant services for the urban redevelopment plan in the amount of $116,520. Ms. Jackson?
Yes, sir. Thank you again, Councilman Adams. Chelsea Jackson, 6695 Church Street. Again, at your strategic planning retreat in February, you all did mention that one of your goals, you wanted to update the urban redevelopment plan. As you all know, the urban redevelopment plan would identify underutilized urban areas. They'll identify areas where private investment can go in those urban areas, and it also help revitalize and rejuvenate different aspects and areas in the city of Douglasville. So staff, the selection committee was comprised of 4 staff members. The criteria was they were graded on the personnel for the project, the previous experience, the project approach, the time frame, and the cost estimate. The city did receive 2 bids, and after interviewing GMC, staff recommends that mayor and council approve GMC for the update to the urban redevelopment plan.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Questions, comments, anyone? Yes, Mr. Estes, go ahead.
Was there some confusion in the RFP with, with one of the responders? Because that is an astronomical difference in cost.
Councilman Estes, I am 99.9% sure that ChatGPT had something to do with the bid amount and also the bid that they sent to the city of Douglasville.
Okay. Well, I guess it's a good thing. They were ridiculously off. All right, thank you.
Other questions or comments? Again, we have a lot of experience with GMC, and I feel as though they'll do a great job. There were only 2 bids, as you've mentioned, and this one was by far much more competitive. So if there are no questions or comments, I'd ask that this also, item B, be placed on the consent agenda. Moving on to item C. Adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 2023-24 general fund budget. Ms. Callen has spoken with us in committee meetings tonight already about these items, and she'll come forward to see if there are any other questions concerning that first budget amendment for 2023-24. Ms. Callen, do you want to review those again in this meeting?
Yeah, I could run through those real quick.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Karen Callen, 6695 Church Street, Assistant City Manager. This is the general fund. This is the first general fund budget amendment we've had this fiscal year. The first page talks about the revenues. The first page on the memo discusses the revenues, and we are bringing forward $1.2 million of encumbrances from the prior year. And we are appropriating $3.4 million of our fund balance. Fiscal year 23, we did have an increase in fund balance of about $3 million. So we are using about $3.4 million of that. That'll go. That'll leave our fund balance at 62% of our total revenues, and our goal is 50% fund balance of our total revenues. So we're over our minimum and our target. So for expenditures, we are starting our liaison program, $100,000 for vehicles, $50,000 for uniforms, and we also have $55,000 for a metal detector. Community development, we have $75,000 for a scanning project. Finance department adjusting for $43,000 for impact fees, and also the Ford Edge purchase for our mail clerk that came in over budget. Our street maintenance, we do have a landscaping contract that will come before you in January, adjusting that budget for $325,000. Court services, $12.5 thousand for AV equipment. In our non-departmental line, we do have a $500,000 transfer to the Jesse Davis Park Construction Fund, and that is because they have found rock out there. Economic development, we've got the downtown master plan and the urban redevelopment plan for a total of $246,000. Town green and amphitheater, $265,000 for opening acts, $33,000 for rentals of the restroom trailers. For the vehicle for Madam Mayor at $48,000. Legal, we have $785,000 for a settlement. It started out at $2.1 million. This is for McMaster-Carr. And the attorneys were able to negotiate it down to $785,000. And this is for a refund for overpayments since McMaster-Carr opened in 2015. We do have $414,000 of personnel lines and encumbrances from the prior year of $1.2 million. As I mentioned before, the detail is on the next page.
Thank you, Ms. Callen. Just one note under the legal, the $785,000 settlement, that sounds as though that is a legal issue as far as a lawsuit or something. It's not. It's an overpayment over a number of years that MasterCard had voluntarily paid according to instruction by their accountants. And this is a refund of part of that amount of money. We've been receiving it. We've not been billing them for anything.
Correct.
And so this is just a refund because they have actually been overpaying in their taxes. And this is the amount that was agreed upon by all parties. Now, there is no recourse beyond that they would have to come against us on anything else, correct?
Once they sign the release that Attorney Jordan will have in January on the council agenda, then that should eliminate any future recourse.
Okay. Questions, comments, anyone?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes,
Thank you, Chairman.
Welcome back, Ms.
Thank you
LaShawn
so much.
Burdan.
Thank you for saying that. Ms. Callen, what do we have in place in the future to assure, and I know things happen, but what do we have in place to assure that not just McMaster-Carr, but moving forward, that this doesn't happen?
So this is a unique situation in that the numbers that they provided from the very beginning of when they opened were the higher amount. So there is really not a way that we can monitor since they self-report. So it wasn't a variance. It was just from the very beginning, they had been reporting incorrectly.
But we have the bottom line number of what it should be.
They
So-
self-report, so they self-report their gross
Self-
receipts. Yes, ma'am. We have not looked into auditing. We tried that at one point, but you all received a bunch of phone calls immediately. So that would be one thing we could do in the future is look at auditing businesses where we would compare what they report to the State Department of Revenue to what they report to us as their gross receipts for their business.
So, as our finance director, you are the absolute best. I know that you with your staff will make the correct decision moving forward, so thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, Chairman.
Madam Mayor, did you have a question?
Yes, sir. And this is just for my own information. When they reported, they went through the Development Authority, didn't they, initially with the City Development Authority or Douglas County, and that were reporting initially?
I believe that is a different issue. I believe that is the economic development side, and this is our business license gross receipt side.
Okay.
So all the businesses in the city renew their business licenses every year, and they report their gross receipts, but they do self-reporting.
Okay, so that's how the discrepancy was based on what they reported, and we taxed them based on what they said, but
Yes,
then
ma'am.
the receipts didn't add up, and we owed them because they overpaid.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And they
thank you.
brought it to our attention.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you
They
so much.
voluntarily came in and said, hey, we've been overpaying you and we want to get this straight. According to our accountant, we made some errors.
Okay.
Anyone else? Okay. Again, if there are no other questions or comments, if you all feel comfortable with placing this on the consent agenda, I would like to do that. Thank you. Move on to item D. Adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 23-24 sanitation fund budget. Ms. Callen again?
Yes, sir. This is for the Sanitation Fund Recycling Center Construction Fund. Part of this funding is out of the ARPA fund, and this portion is coming from Sanitation Fund reserves. That project is due to be completed in 2025, and we are asking that we appropriate $2.2 million out of Sanitation Fund reserves for that project.
Okay, I want to make sure that we're very clear on this. The ARPA funds that we have been given by the federal government through that program this was a proper use within the city for that money to be used for that purpose.
Yes,
And so it's not money that we're taking out of the general fund. It's money that was awarded to us as a city as many of the cities have been.
Yes, sir.
Correct?
That's correct.
And then sanitation, their enterprise fund is also using part of their reserves to fund the building of this building of this product, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's correct.
Are there questions or comments concerning this item? That's the second time that you've heard it, so just want to make sure everyone is clear and in agreement. If so, I'd like to place this on the consent agenda for Monday. Moving on to item E, I didn't hear any naysayers. Everything okay? All right. This is item E, adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 23-24 hotel motel fund balance. Ms. Karen Callen, once again.
Yes, sir. We are requesting we use a little over 1 million of the CVB's fund balance. We have accumulated fund balance over the past couple of years, and according to the DCA laws and recommendations, we are not supposed to accumulate fund balance. We are supposed to spend that down. So we are recommending that we spend that down by $722,000 in kiosk and digital signage, other professional services for the artist fees for spring of fiscal year '24, $250,000, and a van for CVB. And we also are rolling forward some encumbrances in the CVB fund as well.
Okay. Questions, comments concerning item E? Any questions or concerns or comments? Anyone? Again, I'd like to place this on the consent agenda for Monday. One last item under under finance, item F, adopt an ordinance to amend the City of Douglasville's fiscal year 2023-24 splashed 22 fund budget. Ms. Callen.
Yes, sir. We are appropriating 1.48 million, increasing our SPOS revenues, and that is to cover 72,000 vehicles for the F-350 that came in a little higher over what was budgeted, and then 2 Ford Rangers. In our property site improvement line, increasing that by 106,000 for the sinkholes at Hunter Park, and $1.7 million for 63,000 for the asphalt work at the West Pines Maintenance Building, and 1.6 million for the addition of the warming kitchen, and also shade for the playground at the amphitheater, for a total increase of 1.4 million in the SPOS fund.
Thank you, Ms. Callen. Anyone have any comment or question concerning this item? Coach?
I'm going to go ahead.
I know you want to.
I'm
so
going to go ahead and voice my frustration with the idea that we have to put shade over a playground for kids. Anybody play in the shade? What I suggest is we plant some trees, and they'll grow up. And no, I'm just kidding. Anyway, it does.
I think the shade's more for the helicopter planes than the kids.
Anyway,
Thank you,
It's
Coach.
that's all I have to say about
It's
shade.
hot.
Other comments or questions? None? Since we're all here and everyone has voiced their opinion, is there any reason that we don't put this on the consent agenda for Monday? Please do. Thank you. Ms. Callen, we thank you for that. Great work. We appreciate your ease of helping us to understand it.
Sir.
Appreciate the work that your staff does, and like I mentioned earlier, this is the first a budget amendment we've had to do for the year thus far. We're almost halfway through, so thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Mayor, that's all we have tonight under finance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Wonderful job, and thank you, Ms. Callen. We'll move on to the next committee, and that's chaired by yourself as well, Councilman Adams, is Planning and Development Committee, chaired by Councilmember Mark Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have
welcome.
4 items tonight under planning and development.
Yes, sir.
We will move through these as quickly as possible, but we want to make sure that everyone is heard. So
Yes, sir.
we'll start out holding a public hearing to consider a request for a special land use permit for a guest house for property zoned R2, single-family residential detached, being on .91 acres at 8617 Bowden Street, land lot 16, District 1, Section 5, parcel ID 0016015E045. Application by Calvin Willis, and staff member Ms. Marissa Jackson is going to give us information on that.
Yes, sir. Marissa Jackson, Planning and Zoning Administrator, 6701 Church Street. The applicant has requested a special land use permit for a guest house. Guest homes are allowed in the R2 zoning district with a special land use permit as approved by council. The proposed guest house would be located in an existing structure which was previously used as a garage. And from the Unified Development Ordinance, only one primary use is allowed per parcel. So only one structure should be continuously occupied as a primary residence per parcel. And I have some excerpts from the Unified Development Ordinance regarding guest houses. It says, guest houses are for accessory use only. The guest house must be an accessory to a single-family detached dwelling already existing on the lot. The minimum standards are The guest house must meet or exceed the standards for single-family and two-family dwellings under this article, with the exception of the minimum square footage requirement. A guest house shall not have a separate utility meter from the principal use. The water supply and sanitary sewer disposal system for the lot must be certified by the Water and Sewer Authority or the Health Department as appropriate, as adequate to support the guest house in combination with the main house. Restrictions: the guest house must be placed in the rear of the main house. No more than one guest house may be located on any lot. The building floor area of the guest house may not exceed 50% of the floor area of the main house. And then lastly, the definition of guest house from the Unified Development Ordinance. It says, as accessory use to a dwelling designed and intended for the temporary housing of visitors to property residents for no fee or other consideration, and meeting or exceeding the standards for single-family and two-family dwellings under this code. And I would also like to note that on December 5th, we had a Planning Commission meeting. We discussed this item, and the Planning Commission recommended denial.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Jackson. As the mayor has instructed concerning how we handle public hearings, and we will go forward with that, we will give the applicant, if the applicant is here, please come forward, state your case for requesting the special land use permit, and then we will allow time for both anyone that would like to speak for or against to speak. If you'd give us your name and address for the record, please, sir, we'll get started.
Thank you. Good evening, Calvin Willis, 8617 Bowden Street. And I'm here tonight to, as Marissa said, to discuss the guest house for 8617 Bowden Street. Unfortunately, as she mentioned, it was denied by the Planning Commission, but I do think that maybe that needs to be revisited. I want to start out by saying that first off, I am a husband, a father, a servant leader in my community, a real estate agent, and a real estate investor. I have a presentation here. I don't know if can you all see that? I don't think you all can see that.
But we may have a package.
You may have it on, okay,
Yes.
okay. When I purchased 8617 Bowden Street, I really loved the property. It was on a corner lot, it's a nice size lot, it's a beautiful home, high ceilings in the main dwelling. And I really just enjoyed the potential of what it could be. And what also drew me to the property was the fact that it had a guest house. I want to first share this FMLS listing with you. If you all have a copy of it, we can.
What is the date on that listing, Mr. Willis?
The date on this listing is on the market October 7, 2020.
So you purchased it concerning at this time when this listing was valid?
Yes.
Okay.
I purchased it in August of 2021.
Okay.
And if you read in the public remarks of the initial listing, which was listed by a very well-known real estate agent in the area, Debbie Forrester, this says that, if we go read, it says character and charm. I'm going to skip on down, but right where it says public is where we're going to start, where it says character and charm highlight this beauty. If we go on to the third, if we go to the second line, it says nice detached garage and apartment with additional 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom, perfect for in-laws. So this structure was already being used as residential living space. It had a residential living space on one side with 1 bedroom, a kitchenette, a full bathroom. The left side, the far left side was a garage, a 1-car garage. So when I purchased the property, I went ahead and added an additional bedroom and closed in the garage. And I made cosmetic repairs on the inside. And when I purchased it, as an investor, you know, bought it with the hopes and intent that I could use it as a guest house. And based on my impression when I purchased it with the impression that the permits and approvals had already been done, or at least would be that they were grandfathered in because it was already being used as that. And let me go to my presentation just for a moment, just so you can see. Going back to me being a real estate investor, This first slide is, I've done many homes in the Douglasville area where I've come in and bought them and renovated them and put them back on the market for a family to purchase, improving the community. So this is 3035 Chapel Hill Road, where I purchased the house. You can see the before and you can see the after. So I'm bringing that so you know that I'm not just a person that, you know, when I come in, I improve my community. And so the second slide is another house that we did on Central Church Road, 4836 Central Church Road. That's the before and after. This is the before and after of Central Church Road, a kitchen that we renovated. Now, this is the before and after of Bowden Street. Before I bought the property, it was, the exterior had many trees, a lot of different things. It was an eyesore for the community. It was an eyesore for the neighborhood. So in just a little bit of time, and hadn't even really begun to start doing all the renovations that I plan to do. It's just getting started, and I've already improved the property, cut down trees. I put thousands of dollars on the outside of it to make it look good. Improving the community, improving my property value, and also the property value of my neighbors. So with this, with what I plan to do also with the guest house, it also improves the value of the community. Now, my neighbors who are here tonight, who will probably come forward after I do, will bring up the fact that I had it on the market for rent. I had the guest house on the market for rent, and that is true. At a point in time, I had the guest house on the market for rent. However, when I received the first complaint that I needed permits and all of this, I immediately took the post down. I stopped what I was doing and I started to research into did I really need a permit? Is it something? What's the process? And I went down to the office myself and met with them. They also came and told me, well, Mr. Willis, we need to come inside the guest house and take a look around, see what you have there, take pictures. I allowed the code compliance manager, Mr. Jerry Silver, into the location to take pictures. I allowed him to look around, and he came by himself on one visit, and then he came back again with the buildings manager, Matthew, at the time. Matthew and some of his coworkers came, and they looked around the place, took pictures as well, and also measured. They put tape on everything, and from what they told me, it says, looks like you did everything like according to what we would be looking for. So go ahead, get your permits, get everything, and have us and pull your permits. So come to find out, I couldn't just pull the permits. I needed to go through getting the zoning special land use first. It's zoning first and then permits. So as a way to be in compliance, to do everything that my neighbors were complaining or brought the complaint up that it was needed, I immediately began to fall in line with compliance on that. And I was in fact told that yes, I did need to have it approved by you all to be a guest house as residential living space, regardless that it was already there, regardless that the previous owner had already had someone in there and all of that. So I'm in compliance, and as I'm moving forward, I'm thinking that, okay, I'm on the road to getting it done, but come to find out the neighbors really just don't want it at all, or they say, as opposed to saying not only do we want the permit, no, just deny it altogether, which I think is unfair to me that they would want to, didn't have to. I don't think they hold that kind of weight to be judge and jury on a guest house that by UDO I'm allowed to have, especially if I'm falling in compliance with what's being asked of me. So going forward from there, and again, I'm a neighborly person. I'm not an intimidating type of guy. So when I see my neighbors, I wave and all those sorts of things. I'm thinking you can come to me and say, hey, what's up, have a conversation, and we can kind of we can kind of talk through it on that level first. But to see the neighbors I wave or try to, be cordial with, to come, I really feel like it was a slap in the face, but that might be personal. But hey, we're still neighbors, and I don't hold anything against anybody. I mean, we can move on from that. But we do have to become, as a community, we do have to get back to being neighborly. Because one of the complaints with my neighbors is that I allow transient people, or something to that effect. He's letting transient people. I'm concerned about the safety of my family. I'm concerned about, we have kids and all this and that. Well, I'm a father and husband, I understand that. I don't have people that I rent to that are criminals. I do background checks, I do credit checks, I do all of those different things. And nobody have that I've brought to Bowden Street has been a problem in terms of threatening the safety of anybody around there. They might not have paid me rent on time, but that's a different story. So, but ultimately, I'm about safety. I'm about being in compliance. I'm about community. So the person that this gentleman was talking about was actually the daughter of a neighbor that lived across the street. Her name was Miss Mary. She was about 80 years old. I got a chance to know her, very sweet lady. She would always ask me, well, what you gonna do with this? And what you gonna do with that guest? What you gonna do with that guest house over there? What you gonna do? And she was like, can my daughter come rent from you? Come out. And I was like, I kind of had seen, I was like, I didn't really want to do it, but turns out Miss Mary passed away. And as I'm doing work at the main house one day, her daughter comes, knocks on the door. And she says, hey, Mr. Wood, who owns this house or whatever? I said, well, I own it. And she said, well, I'm out in the cold. I don't have nowhere to go. And it was winter time. It was cold. She said, I'm homeless right now. I need a place to sleep tonight. So I let Miss Mary, I let Miss Mary's daughter, Cheryl, sleep in one of the bedrooms of the guest house. And I knew it wasn't a permanent situation. I let her stay for probably about a week or two. And then I helped to find her some permanent housing where she could, because she had a disability. She suffered from like schizophrenia or something. She had a mental illness, put it like that. And so I helped her find long-term housing, but that's who one of my neighbors was referring to, that individual, because she did have problems, and when she would have episodes, it would be problematic. But again, it was never to keep her there long term. I helped her find something else. So going forward here, I wanted to show you an image of the original way it looked. This is the guest house when I purchased it. As you can see, the windows on the right, they're large enough for ingress, egress, if there was ever an emergency. There's 2 doors, so there's a misconception that I created a triplex, but I did not. It already had 2 doors on the structure. All I did was close in the garage door and create one more door. And so I stuck with the original floor plan. I didn't go in and change the framing or change anything on the inside. So this is the original way it looked on the inside with the paneled walls, the baseboard heaters. You can see the full bathroom in the left corner over there. You can kind of see it a little bit better right here. So I came in and did a lot of cosmetic things to it to improve it. And this is how it looked once I finished. I added a couple of windows on the front. I closed in the garage and added that door. This is how it looks right now. So this is a lot of my stuff that's in here right now. This is the hallway going down to the kitchen. So let me back up. The far right is the kitchen. The middle is the bedroom. The left is the bedroom. So you have, and that's the kitchen, which has microwave, fridge, and a cooktop, and then a full bathroom right there next to it. This is the outside again. It was brought up that the windows were not large enough. So this is what, I wasn't prepared with this last week when I talked to the planning commission. Because honestly, I didn't know that my neighbors were coming. I didn't know it was gonna be a dog fight about this. I just thought that, I'm trying to pull permits. This is what they asked for. This is what they wanted. So it was brought up that there are multiple windows that are large enough. As again, that one in the middle, another window large enough. Again, just some other external beautification type things I've done to the property. Just correspondence between myself and the zoning permit office saying the guest house is allowable with permission per current zoning. This document, it's a little small, but it's already showing where the county, Douglas County is already taxing me for the structure. as a garage apartment, and it's already being assessed a value. I can print this off where it's a little bit clearer, but it is public record, and you'll be able to see this, that basically I'm being taxed as it is right now. And it's also being given a value on one of the line items. So this is just a video where I take you inside the property. So these are all the walls that are right there. They were original to the structure. We came in and added this room, put sheetrock, but we added the mini splits. We added the bathroom.
Ms. Acker, how are we on time?
Okay. So, it's more, okay. My
We
apologies.
need a timer.
Okay, I'm done.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah, no problem. But yes, thank you very much for your time.
Let's see if we
consideration.
have, I know that we need to give anyone that wants to speak either for or against the opportunity to speak, but let's see if the
Okay.
council or Madam Mayor has questions of the applicant first, and that way then maybe we can speed up the process. Anyone would like to start?
I don't have questions, I have comments.
That's fine.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm a little confused here because you stated that you are a realtor yourself and an investor.
Correct.
You showed us properties that you've went in and flipped yourself,
Correct.
yet you did not know what you needed to do to follow the proper channels and get this done. I'm very surprised by that. As a third-generation realtor myself, I feel as though it is part of my duty when I'm helping my clients, because I know Georgia's a buyer beware state. I can write up a listing agreement right now and tell you that this basement, and include the basement bedrooms in it, but we know that's not an accurate count. You can't actually count those. That square footage does not count either, and you should know that as well. If the zoning did not require it, that was on, or if this proper zoning that you wanted was not there, that was on you to get that taken care of in your due diligence. Before you did all that, we had issues last summer getting your street cleaned up, where you were going through and pulling things out and you were leaving mounds of trash on the street. I was getting calls from my constituents, and we had to coordinate and get it all cleaned up. So you were already being a bad neighbor. I'm a little surprised by what you're asking for. And I think that you should have known that there were going to be some avenues to follow to do this properly, and you did not. And my understanding is that you actually also had a court date recently that you didn't even show up for.
Where you get that information from? And what court date are you talking about?
Excuse me?
What court date are you talking about?
Wait a minute.
With a code violation.
I don't know anything about that. And secondly, let me address your thing about it being a bad neighbor, because I disagree with that. Anytime I put out trash.
It's not a debate,
Okay.
this was just comments.
Anytime I put out trash, I pick trash up. So you all have never had to clean up after me. Let's just get that straight.
Okay, we're not,
Mr. Willis, as Councilwoman Miller said, we're not here to debate it. We're just here to make comments and ask questions.
Well-
And I appreciate your reply there, but she must be referring to a complaint that someone else had about trash on the property that needed to be cleaned up, regardless
Yeah,
of who cleans
it's
it up.
probably the same people complaining tonight. But they also got a lot of complaints. They put no parking signs out because they don't want people to park because we got an amphitheater. Same people.
okay.
You
Who
can
else?
roll them all the way
Thank
to the
you.
bank.
Yes, Madam Mayor, go
Veterans
ahead.
Memorial.
Thank you so much. For staff, is Chelsea Tubbs still an employee with the city?
Yes, yes, ma'am, she is.
So there was a I think it was a text message that you had given to us, Mr. Willis, that had Ms. Tubbs said that it looked like it was a second dwelling, but it had to be approved by the council.
Yeah, that was an email.
An email?
I put an email screenshot.
Yes, sir. So that's basically what it is. That was probably, or that was her determination, and our director from Community Development can talk to us about that. But even with the special land use permit, it really is a privilege and not a right. So the council can make determinations and override what staff says or what recommendations are given, or even what the realtor says, if it does not align with our UDO. When Ms. Jackson first read all the information to us, it did not line up with the UDO. I know that's probably interpretation that we may have that's different. You think that it does, but based on the UDO that she read to us, and whether they use it like that or not in the past, it really has to be voted on to give you that right to use it as a second dwelling. So I just wanted to make that clear to you, that is, the staff person can say, yes, this is good, and they made that determination, but they said it was contingent upon the voting body. So,
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I just
Yes,
wanted to
ma'am.
make
Yes,
certain
Madam
that you
Mayor.
knew that. And it's not that it's a yes or no, it's just that was their call, but it really ultimately lies with the elected officials. And the Planning and Development Commission is a recommending body. So we take what they say into consideration, but we make our own decisions as well.
Okay,
Okay,
I
thank
understand
you.
that.
Yes,
Okay, I appreciate that, Madam Mayor. I wasn't duped when I bought the property, so I just want to address Ms. Miller again. I was not misled or misinformed.
Okay,
I knew that I was buying it, and I wasn't trying to paint the picture like, oh, I bought it, and then I was disappointed or anything like that. If it came to this, I'm ready to go through with it.
yes, sir.
So
And
that's
you
all
did.
it is.
I commend you for, once it was brought to your attention, that you stopped the renting, and you also came to City Hall to see what you needed to do to become in compliance. Because if you were just being defiant, you would have kept on renting and not paid attention to that. So we
Exactly.
appreciate you trying to follow the rules. Now, did you say it was not enclosed and you enclosed it? Is that what you said initially about the garage?
About the garage, yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
That garage door was there, but I removed it and enclosed it with a regular door.
Now, there are 3 doors on one of these structures, and is
That's
that
the
allowed?
guest house.
Is it allowed
That's
to have
it.
3?
That's,
Okay.
that's the unit right there that you're looking
Okay,
at.
thank you so much. I
Okay.
appreciate you answering my
Okay,
questions.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, other comments or questions? Stand by just a minute, Mr. Wills. Anyone else have a comment or question? I had a couple but I will wait until you all are finished. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
I think the misunderstanding here is that you're applying for this to be a guest house, or you keep calling it a guest house, but unless I'm misreading something, the UDO itself defines a guest house as a non-rentable.
Right, and I'm okay
structure.
with that. I'm okay with that.
So you're willing to not have it as a rentable structure?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's what I was a little confused too, what your specific request was there. Okay, I just want to make sure our definitions are all in agreement. Thank you.
Yeah, because a mother-in-law suite can be in the house, but you're not renting it, right? And that was one of the definitions, or something that you read, and maybe it was what Ms. Foster said, it's a great spacious, mother-in-law suite.
Yeah, that's what was on the list, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Mr. Willis, was that all you had, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah.
All right, I just had a couple of questions and observations. You mentioned that you bought it in '21 based upon the listing that we have a copy of here. And then when you decided that you were going to improve it, you advertised that there were 3, not 2, there were 3 studio apartments that would rent for $1,000 a month each, okay? So you advertised that, but you're telling us that you only have 2 units in it. Is that correct? So which is it?
Correct. So it's 2. And again, once I realized that that was not going to be something I could do,
Okay,
I aborted that mission altogether.
all right. How many
So-
bathrooms are there in that structure?
3.
Because there's 3 bathrooms, there's
3.
3 front doors, and there's 3 PTAC units. What would me as an individual, not given access to go in and see it, think?
Well, you were given access once the code compliance
No, I
manager
don't think
came?
so.
Who are you talking about? Dick was not given access. Who was not given access?
Well,
My neighbors?
we've not been given access to go in and do the proper inspections because it was never permitted in order for us to know what was being done. Okay?
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Therefore, the work that has been done has got to be checked to see if it is in compliance with bringing it up to code so that it is inhabitable.
I'm totally okay with that.
Okay? And any corrections that would have to be done prior to, okay?
I'm totally okay with that, because I use licensed contractors for work, and I'm totally okay with that.
Okay, are you a licensed contractor?
No, but I plan to eventually.
Okay, so you didn't have a licensed contractor
No.
do the work?
No, I did have some licensed contractors as far as, just because those are people that I use, plumbing.
Okay. So you added a bathroom,
Yes, sir.
okay, and I'm assuming you tied that into the sewer line or to the septic tank line going out. Is it on septic or sewer?
Sewer. It was
on
already,
sewer.
but keep in mind, it was already connected to the sewer when I bought it. It
Okay.
already had a
That's
panel when
fine.
I bought it.
That's fine. That's
All
not
I
a
did was
problem.
connect it to the current drain line that was already inside.
Yes, sir, but what you've just done is double the amount of drain capability or drain requirement and not looked at the individual sewer line for the outfall to the sewer system. So you may have had a lateral installed for that one bedroom in a guest house apartment garage, but you've just doubled the requirement. If there's only 2 units in there, you got 3 bathrooms, you've just tripled the requirement for drainage versus what may have been installed for 1 bathroom. And none of that's been inspected. You see where I'm going?
Oh, tremendously,
Okay.
I do.
Okay,
And
so-
all I'm saying is I'm okay with,
The next thing is primary residence. Which is the primary residence? Because this has something to say about living in one and renting another as, not renting another, but using the accessory building as a guest house according to our UDO with no rent. In other words, just an occasional guest house for your in-laws to come and visit or something.
right.
But your intention was to do something different with it, right? And now you've stopped that.
Correct.
Did you stop the work?
Yes, no, we've not done any more work at
So
all.
what I'm saying is, when you found out you may not be in compliance with the usage, did you stop the work, or did you go ahead and continue to finish?
Stop.
You stopped, okay. What about parking? You could potentially have 3 units there, and I don't see any parking anywhere that is provided on the site.
Well, I'm not, the 3-unit thing, it's only a 2-bedroom guest house, which will be only for 1 or 2 individuals, so, but to answer your question, there is parking right near the guest house.
Okay, okay. So the primary residence would be the house that I'm assuming you occupy?
I don't occupy it right at the moment.
The primary
but it
residence
would
is the
be,
house
yes.
that is there?
Yes, that's the primary residence.
Okay. I think my problem with it is that all the work has been done, and now, well, let me state one other thing. You mentioned in your suggestions a minute ago that you were being taxed on that detached potential guest house garage.
Yes,
And it shows here that that was a 20 by 26 addition, and it shows that the value of it, as far as the total tax bill, is around $22,000. Now,
yes.
it's not very difficult for us to figure out that 720 square feet is only being taxed at $30 a square foot, and that's probably less than half what it would cost to build it. So the fact that you're being taxed on it, it's being taxed still as a garage. It's not being taxed as 2 or 3 rental units, okay? We need to make
Right,
sure you
right.
understand that. It's not being taxed as that. It's being taxed as a detached garage / garage apartment, okay?
Right, but unimproved though. That's the unimproved
Yes,
value.
sir. And it's valued at $22,500 on
Right.
this tax bill that you
Which-
provided us.
Which, if everything's approved, and you all approve that I go through it, zoning and finish permitting, then that would go up based on it being completed and allowed.
Understood. All right. Any other questions or comments before we allow public comment? Yes, go ahead, Mr. Dodson.
Ms. Jackson, does the UDO specify the location for a guest house?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Joel.
Yes, sir, it said the rear. Yes, sir, it said the rear.
It's supposed to be at the rear. Okay, is this structure at the rear of the home?
We have a variance request after this. You'll see that this particular lot has two frontages on Bowden and Hayes, and it's at the intersection of the two frontages.
Okay.
But, Mr. Dodson, let me say also, if you look at the property, neither way you configure it, either way that it's either in the front if you're looking at it from Haynes, or it's on the side if you're looking at it from Bowden. Would you agree to that, Mr. Willis?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it is a corner lot, but in no way can you,
Well, that's what I was getting at.
Right. It's not in the
It's
rear.
not behind the house.
That is correct.
No matter which street you're looking at.
that's exactly correct. Okay. If there's nothing else, then I'm going to open the floor for public comment for anyone that would like to come and speak either for or against. Thank you, Mr. Willis, appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Ms. Acker, if you'll keep up with the time for us, please. Is there anyone that'd like to speak? We'll start with in favor of. Anyone that would speak in favor of this special land use permit, please come forward. If not, if there's anyone that would speak against, please come forward. Give us your name and address for the record, and let's move along. Move along.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. This is Christopher Kuiper, Dr. Kuiper, 6702 Haynes Street. And some of the information that was shared with you, I think, is a packet that was also shared with the Planning Commission at the time of the knowledge we had based upon neighbors and where the concern of a triplex there, that the current property is not owner occupied, and a reminder of what was already provided in the UDC code, that the intent is temporary housing, which is a rather vague portion of that definition, but that no fee or consideration. And so while you're either for or against it, the fact of where the information in March was listed as a potential renter of 3 different units, in addition to an opportunity to sell the home, and it was listed with the same information that they could be rented for 3, it's that if this home is approved for a guest home with 3 units, then there's a precedent set within the city that a guest home, if somebody doesn't do their due diligence in purchasing it, that they could ultimately turn that into that. So if you have 3 individuals renting that and somebody walks by, how do you like it that, get into conversation, how much is a rent for, and that if they say, hey, I'm even just raking up the yard, cleaning up the yard, that's consideration that ultimately you're doing for the home. If not, 3 units, and the fact that it says $1,000 per unit, that ultimately they're out of compliance and you'd have to evict those individuals. Lastly, too, is there's a petition of 34 names within the community, various homes, that also support the denial that was made by the Planning Commission on December 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else, please come forward. If you give us your name and address for the record, we'd love to hear from you.
Good evening. I'm Howard Lynn at 6735 Oakhurst Court, Douglasville. Just to add what was previously said, and correct a few things that was mentioned by the applicant. I go by that house almost every day, that property. And as far as little things that was being said about the trash pile, that trash pile was out there for weeks, if not months. I know it was. I went by there every day. And we looked at the property too, the measurements of it, and it's a 20 by 79, the building, the guest house that's being spoken of. And like I said, there's 3 doors, 3 air conditioning units. There is not the windows, and I have a building background and an insurance inspector. I inspect homes I've done it for most of my career. The windows are not big enough, I know, to satisfy fire safety. And even in most of the windows that's in there are single hung windows, so you can only get half of them up. So you can't measure the whole window, you have to use half of it. But anyway, and as far as the eyesore, it was an older home, but it was a nice older home. And there's, as far as improvements, I don't see, where that should be an issue. But we, like I said earlier, the neighbors are just concerned that you could have 5 different families, or 4 different families on the property. And that is not what I think the intent of the neighborhood is, that we want to keep it, as a single-family neighborhood. And it's a nice area of town. There's a lot of development been going on downtown, and we appreciate what the city's done with the amphitheater. It looks nice. And we just want to keep the area nice, if it's possible.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lynn. Anyone else? Please come forward. Anyone?
If
Any
someone
questions, comments?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. If there are no other questions or are no other people to speak against, then we will close this portion of the public hearing. Unless there are other questions or comments of council or Madam Mayor, then we'll take this up on Monday for a vote. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Willis. Appreciate you coming in. We'll go on to item B, hold a public hearing and consider a request for a variance from section 3.03B of the Unified Development Ordinance to reduce the minimum front yard setback from 50 feet to 33 feet for .91 acres at 8617 Bowden Street, Land Lot 16, District 1, Section 5, Parcel ID 00160115E045, application by Calvin Willis. Again, Ms. Marissa Jackson will help us with this. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll be quick. You should know that the item before this one and this one are related. The UDO says that structures in the front yard have to have a 50-foot setback. On this particular lot for the guest house, it is 36 feet setback on Bowden and 33 setback on Hayes. So this is a variance to reduce the minimum yard from 50 to 33 so that it can be in compliance with the front yard setback. The garage was previously existing as a non-conforming structure.
Okay, but our request here is for a minimum front yard setback.
Yes, to reduce it from 50 feet to 33 feet.
Okay, well, I want to give the applicant opportunity again if there's something else that needs to be said concerning it, and then I do have a question. But,
Mr. Chair?
yes, go ahead, Coach.
Does this particular request for the variance, does it have anything to do with decisions that, on item A? In other words, I mean, that's a garage that's been there since, for how many years?
We can't reduce the garage when it's already sitting, the structure's there already.
Right, so I'm asking, even though they're related, they're both the same building, I'm just wondering if the variance affects our decision in any way on the other item.
Let me ask a question. Ms. Jackson, is this variance for the guest house / garage, or is it for the main home?
It's for the guest house / garage. The challenge here is that the guest house / garage is non-conforming. By issuing a special land use permit for the guest house / garage, you would be extending a non-conforming use. The ordinance says that we're not able to extend a non-conforming use. And so in order to make the guest house / garage conforming, we would need to also issue a variance to reduce the minimum yard from 50 feet to 33 feet.
Okay, I'm confused.
Okay.
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Turner.
Jackson, it appears the structure was originally built as a garage, and it was not intended for human habitation. Well, if this variance is granted, it still won't change the location of the building. It still will not be behind the main residence, will it?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson, I'm confused because on the plat that we're shown for this variance, it shows on the building setback lines 25 feet on Bowden Street and 20 feet on Haynes Street,
Yes, sir.
both
So-
of which this structure is outside of. So where do we get 50 feet?
So The survey that you have is pretty old. It was from 2000 something. I can double check the date. The ordinance was updated in 2019, and so we're referencing the updated current UDO standards, and I believe that the survey was drawn based on standards that were in place at the time that it was.
So it would have been legal at the time then?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then there would not have been, then I would assume you would have, correct me if I'm wrong, I would assume you'd have grandfathered it in. You don't want them to have to move the building.
Yeah, and we would have grandfathered it in, but the challenge here is that Mr. Willis is asking for a special
Gotcha.
land use permit.
Okay. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I go back to my original, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Coach.
I mean, they don't seem to be, these two items, even though they're not the same item, approval of one doesn't mean there has to be an approval of the other. I mean, I guess Joel probably got answer to my question for.
It appears the structure was originally built as a garage, or possibly a storage shed with a garage. Well, that structure could be grandfathered if it's still used as that. When you change the use to go from something from a garage to human habitation, you have other situations. In your code, talking about a guest house, I believe it says, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Jackson, that it must meet the same standards as a single-family dwelling other than square footage.
Yes, sir.
So essentially, for a single-family dwelling, you would need inspections for wiring, heating and air, and the usual things that go with it. It appears to me that if it's used as a garage, it may be grandfathered, but it's certainly not grandfathered for a residential use that was a multifamily use that was never illegal from the start. In other words, an illegal use is never grandfathered. And he may be right, it may have been used as a rental unit for years before he bought it, but that doesn't mean it was ever approved by the city. The fact that somebody used it for a rental unit doesn't necessarily gain you any legal rights.
Okay. Other questions or comments? All right. Does the applicant have anything that they would like to say in addition concerning this item on the agenda? If so, come forward. It is a public hearing, and we do need to give opportunity for those speaking either for or against. So I need to give you opportunity if there's any additional comments you would like to make.
Just for my clarification, and you all can speak to this, I thought the variance was to just make it where you're approving it to be on the side versus the rear. That's not the understanding?
No, that's what I was talking to Ms. Jackson about. The variance is simply seeking the setbacks. Your variance apparently does not include any request that you waive the requirement that the house be in the back. I'm not sure that's a variable item, to be perfectly candid with you, but as I understand it, Ms. Jackson, the only variance that's been filed is for a change in the setback. All right, thank you.
Okay, because it was my intent to file whatever was needed to have you all look at it being approved on the side as opposed to the rear. That was what I would, if that's not what it is, that's what I would have liked it to have been. So,
Okay.
I'm not sure, but thank you.
Sure, sure. Is there anyone that would like to speak either for or against this item, item B, 23-453, concerning a variance? Please come forward. Make sure, if you would, please, again, give us your name and address for the record, and it needs to be any new information.
Dr. Christopher Kuiper and 6702 Haynes Street. To support Councilman Dodson's comments and what was shared when we had gathered the petition, signature was in the denial of both requests was due to the fact of that facility or the building itself has changed its nature. It's no longer a garage, and it is a double, triplex, singleplex usage. So that was the consideration behind what was shared, and the notion that if it's approved, then the building for some reason can stay in its current state in the nature of being lived in fully versus being a garage of what it was originally. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one, I'll close that portion of the public hearing then, and I believe Madam Mayor has a comment.
I do have I'm just trying to get an understanding of everything. It's not very confusing, but it can be. So for this particular variance, it can be grandfathered as a garage, but not, because the use has changed, not from a garage, but to a home. We would have to do a variance to make it
If you
dwellable.
were to, basically what Ms. Jackson is trying to point out, if you change the use, if you make it grant the special land use permit and allow this, then to be in compliance with your current code, you would need to give a variance on the setbacks.
I see. So it can't be, and Councilmember.
I'm not sure what good the variance would be.
Right.
If the special use is denied.
Exactly.
I fail to see that would particularly benefit anybody.
Because an additional structure, Ms. Miller was just at my house the other day, there's a shed in the back, and the home is from 1957. If I wanted to make that shed into a guest home, it's in the back. You can do that based on the UDO, but if it were on the side and didn't meet the variance and it wasn't detached and all of that, then it would be prohibited. You would need a special land use permit.
Yes, but to your point, if you were trying to turn a shed into a guest house, you would still have to go through the requirements of the code
Yes, sir.
to have it inspected and have it built to single-family residence standards, is what your ordinance appears to say. So you wouldn't simply be able to say, fine, the shed is now a guest house. And that's not what he's trying to do.
No, it isn't, but in that it has to meet all those requirements, be in the back, be 50 feet, all of that. Okay.
I'll allow, come on, Mr. Willis, let's just move along.
Quick thing. I think we have to not assert that it was just a garage, because that's not what it was. It was a garage/apartment. And even on the Douglas County record right here, it says it detached garage with apartment. So let's not have the neighbors and also just say, oh, it was a garage and that was the use only, because that's not fully true either. So
Well,
we
it
have to.
could have been used that, but doesn't make it was legal.
Right, but how we, we have to go back and say, okay, well, this is saying detached garage with apartment on public record. So it's not, if it had just said garage,
Yeah.
then okay, I get your point, but it says garage, but so that expresses living.
Public record, you're talking about the tax assessors.
Yes,
Okay, well, that doesn't really tell you when it became a apartment. It may have been a garage and probably was initially, but there's no way we don't have any evidence before us as to when the apartment was put in. And if it was put in, it certainly wasn't done compliant with the zoning ordinance. So as I say, an illegal use never becomes grandfathered if it was illegal from the outset.
Mr. Chair, I have a quick question.
Yes, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm wondering if, and this is not meant to be construed as development advice. I'm not a developer, I only play one on TV, so. Would it have been just simpler to go about applying for a subdivision on this property? Would that be a simpler solution? I'm not suggesting that should be done. I'm just
Well, I don't know if the lot's big enough to do that. And once again, if you did a subdivision, we'd still at some point probably have to have an inspection to get a CO for someone to move into it. So I don't know that,
It's .91 acres total.
I'm not, I don't want to give him legal advice on what I would do, but that wouldn't have been it.
Okay. And I'm not intending to make that my advice, I just wanted, I'm asking the question.
Okay.
It's zoned for R2, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you
Coach Watts?
definitely could not have the 3 apartments in there, because then the
Coach
triplex
Watts?
would not be.
Can't
you have
even
something
two.
I want to recognize Coach Watt.
I'm sorry, just without the inspections, what are we talking about here? We can't even grant it, what he's requesting until it's passed, I mean, or
Well, to your point, here's the situation. There was some work done on the property. There's no evidence that it was ever inspected by anyone or done by a certified electrician. At this point, you don't know what was done or if what was done was up to code. So if human beings are going to occupy that, either as a rental unit or as a guest house, it's my opinion you would need some assurance that it's safe to do so.
Okay, any other comment? Any other question?
last thing is that
We're on short notice, Mr. Wilson.
Part of getting to that point is your approval of the zoning. So
Well,
the
that,
special land use has to be approved before I can, before I can get the permit, so to ensure the safety you're talking about.
Then,
as
Mr.
I
Willis, you've
understand it,
already done the work.
You've already done the work, so what are we?
Without a
What would we
permit.
be inspecting after you get the permits?
You can still go in and inspect all of the electrical, all of the plumbing, all of the framing, building, whatever, all the insulation, everything else.
I don't think the council's going to grant a zoning in the hopes that it's done right. The ordinary process is to get the permits and do the work, and then you get an inspection to get a CO. So I'll say no more.
Thank you. Any other question or comment? I'm going to say no, and we'll move along. We'll take this up on Monday. I think we've covered this item very well. All right. We'll go to item C, hold a public hearing, consider an amendment to Exhibit B of Ordinance 2021-57 to reflect the motion as stated at the Legislative Work Session meeting on December 2nd, 2021, to amend one-car garages on townhomes and sprinklers only in townhomes for 18.5 acres at the intersection of Burnt Hickory Road and Midway Road, land lot 836, District 18, Section 2, parcel ID 0836-182-0002, application by SA Land Group, care of Adam Baker, and Ms. Marissa Jackson is going to help us with this.
Hello
Ms. Jackson,
again.
thank you.
This is a housekeeping item. You will recall this rezoning request from December of 2021. The final rezoning ordinance did not exactly match the conditions as mentioned. It said all homes will have two-car garages and be sprinkled. The proposed amendment notes that it was intended for the single-family homes to have two-car garages and the townhomes to be sprinkled.
So this is basically a housekeeping item to make sure that it is transparent and it's clear what we expected as a part of this development. It is a public hearing. I'll see if there's anyone here that would like to speak either for or against this item. Please come forward, give us your name and address for the record for public comment. Is there anyone here that would like to do that? Please come forward. Give us your name and address for the record. You'll have, is it 5 minutes, Ms. Acker? And we'd love to hear from you.
Good evening. My name is Luke Fowler. I'm here on behalf of Adam Baker and SA Land Group. Adam would have loved to have been here tonight, but he was at a Christmas party, so he's unable to attend. Our address, is 475 East Main Street, Suite 132 in Cartersville, Georgia. Just to quickly recap how we got to this point and what we're seeking, on December 2nd and December 6th of 2021, we had a rezoning hearing for the property on Burnt Hickory Road. We received approval from the City Council with conditions. On January 26th, 2022, we were given the formal written approval, which did not match the conditions that were verbally voted upon and agreed on in the hearing. So our team went back and reviewed the official recordings on the City of Douglasville website just to ensure accuracy, and we noted the two conditions for formal approval that did not match what was originally read. On December 2nd, the previous development director, Ryan Anderson, read that all single-family residences will be developed with a two-car garage. The written conditions that we received then stated all units will be developed with a minimum of a two-car garage, not less than 400 square feet. The size requirement of 400 square feet was never read aloud, neither was the inclusion of two-car garages for the townhomes. Shortly thereafter, the condition was correctly read that sprinklers would be required for the townhome units. However, the written ordinance, or the written condition, stated that all units would be required to be protected with automatic fire sprinkler systems. We're just asking that the written conditions match what was originally verbally read and therefore voted upon in the rezoning hearing.
Can you give me your name again, please?
Luke Fryler.
Luke
Fryler.
Fryler.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Fryler, what your intention or what your thoughts were at the time were then that the townhomes would be sprinkled
Correct.
and the detached single-family homes would have two-car garages.
Correct.
The townhomes were not considered to need two-car garages.
Correct.
All right. Did you provide any renderings that would have shown us anything like that?
No, sir.
Okay. Ms. Jackson has done a great job in trying to
Yes.
decipher what was said, what was written, and so forth and so on. And so if we're in agreement then that all the townhomes would need to be sprinkled but not be required to have double garages, and all the detached single-family homes would have double garages, is that what we're after?
Yes, sir. We're just asking that
Ms.
it
Jackson,
matches
is
the original.
that what you found?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Questions
Thank
or
you.
comments? Anyone? Housekeeping issue. Yes, Coach.
I just, so the townhomes, is 66 townhomes, correct?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
None of those will have, like, even single car, I can't remember back when we, will any of the townhomes have garages? Or
That wasn't read aloud in the hearing, so as far as I'm aware, we're just asking for it to
Gotcha.
match what was
All
originally
right.
read.
All right, thank you. I can't.
Okay. Other questions or comments?
Councilman Adams, I would just like to add that on the original agenda attachment item in 2021, there were actually two Exhibit Bs, and one of them was the one that reflected what was read at the hearing upon review by staff of the recording of the hearing. And then the other one was the incorrect one that ended up being attached to the ordinance.
Okay.
Yes.
Makes sense. Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Jordan, all right, is there anything else on this item? If not, we'll close out this item. We'll take it up on Monday for a vote, and we thank you for coming in, sir.
Thank you very much.
Public hearing?
Did I not give opportunity in a public hearing for
She did.
those to vote,
Mr.
those to speak about this item? I'm sorry.
You did, you did.
Okay. Okay. All right, one more item. Item D, reappoint two individuals to the Historic Preservation Commission for 3-year terms, with each reappointment expiring January 31st, 2027, that being Mr. John Dean and Mr. Philip Wren. Ms. Jackson?
Thank you, Councilman Adams. Chelsea Jackson, 6695 Church Street. As stated by Councilman Adams, two individuals like to be reappointed to the Historic Preservation Commission. That's Mr. John Dean and Mr. Philip Wren. At this time, no other individuals are interested in being appointed at this time. This board also has one opening, so we are looking for an individual to serve in the capacity for another 3-year term as well.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. I know the individuals. I'm going to ask a question in their defense since they are not here. Sometimes some of us don't get that defense. Are these two individuals seeking reappointment? They are in agreement. They would like to
Yes.
continue to serve?
Yes, they are. I actually have it in writing that they wish
I
to be
do have their
reappointed.
phone numbers. I can verify that. Okay. Questions, comments?
I have a comment. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. And thank you, Chairman Adams. I have spoken with Mr. Dean. He has been very, very involved with the HOA and very happy. So I did speak with him via phone, and he said he is definitely reinterested. And he has been active. He's active in our ward, and I definitely would like to see him with the mayor and council's blessings to reappoint him. If on Monday, if that's your desire.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Madam Mayor?
The only other comment I would say about Mr. Dean is I went to his home, and it is
Beautiful.
absolutely beautiful. He restored it, fireplaces in every room, high ceilings, hardwood floors, a deck. It's just, he's done from firsthand experience with his own home, he would be great on HPC. He does a great job.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there any reason that we would need to vote on this on Monday, or can we place this on the consent agenda, since they're in agreement?
I'm fine.
And there are no other applicants, is that correct, Ms. Jackson? Okay.
Consent agenda.
All right, if you would do that, I would appreciate it. Thank you. Madam Mayor, that's all that we have tonight under planning and development. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We appreciate you bringing us through those agenda items. And we appreciate the comments from the community as well as the applicant. We'll move on then to item number 8, which is Housing and Community Affairs Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Burdanley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business tonight under Housing and Community Affairs.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Legislative and Intergovernmental Committee, chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Yes, I have one item, and item A, adopt a resolution to waive the requirements for a City of Douglasville logo decap on the mayor's work vehicle calendar year 2024. Ms. Hampton, thank you.
Yes, sir. Attached, you will find a copy of the advertisement for the public hearing as well as the resolution drafted by legal staff. You all are veteran elected officials, so you know you've done this before for previous mayors. The mayor has elected to receive a vehicle in 2024, and she has asked for the logo to be waived, and this resolution, per a vote on Monday, will allow for that to happen.
So in the past, Ms. Hampton, have the mayors been on their vehicles, been having their logo?
It's a variety. Mayor Thompson did not have a logo that I recall. Mayor Persons, I think, at some point in time, but I don't remember. But I know you all have done this in the past, as long as I know of.
Okay. Okay, Councilman Watts.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This question is for Ms. Hampton. What is if the decal has to be on the vehicle, is there a particular size, a particular location? Maybe just explain that, how that works if a decal has to be on there.
Not necessarily a particular location. State law does spell out that it has to be visible, and there is a size that's specified in state law. I can get Ms. Jordan to pull up exactly what it says as far as the size, but honestly, it is extremely small. I mean, it's probably the size of the smallest, it's very small.
I mean, that was my understanding, that it could literally be on the rear bumper and small to meet the
Absolutely.
state law requirement.
Absolutely, it is very small.
But still, yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, I have a comment. I'd just like to say, because we've voted differently in the past, and being that with Mayor Robinson, you know, as it relates to safety sometimes, I just want to say I'm okay with it.
Thank you.
I'm okay with it.
Councilman Miller?
Thank you. I'm sorry, I got distracted for just a moment. I wanted to make sure I understood. Is it actually a state requirement that we have the logo on the vehicle?
That state requires that you have it, but if you choose to waive it, you have to do so via public hearing and adoption of the attached resolution.
Okay.
So, yes, ma'am.
Are there certain reasons that we have required it in the past, or has it just been at council's decision?
It's a council decision. I would probably have to pull up meetings, because certainly those decisions were political.
Okay. And what are reasons to change it?
It's per the request of the mayor. I mean, I don't know of, unless Joel knows of any reason. I mean, I think Mayor Thompson did not have any
Yeah.
issue. I know City Manager Bill Osborne had his waived for a while. I think at one point it wasn't. So it just depends on the council who all were making the decision.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. And Councilman Davis?
Madam Mayor?
And it really speaks to what Councilmember Dr. Burdanley said about safety for me. And I served on council before, so I've been involved, either appointed or elected, for 20 years. It was waived every year until former Mayor Persons. I think he unfortunately had an accident in the car, and so then the council asked for him to put the logo on his vehicle. And so then when I became mayor, the citizens graced me enough to become mayor. The logo was larger than this. It kind of covered the door, and I felt uncomfortable. That's why I opted not to have the car, because anywhere I went, I felt like, just with the climate of things changing and how divisive politics have become, and I'm by myself a lot, driving into Atlanta for meetings and all over the state, you know, serving on various boards. I felt like a sitting duck with the thing as large as the door. So I do see other elected officials that if they have them, as the city manager says, they're smaller than this little coaster. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. So if you all opt to have the logo, that's, you know, I don't mind, but if I had my druthers, I would not have it, so that I wouldn't be feeling like they kind of get me, or they can come. You know, we have had, actually, when I first got elected, there were threats, and they were actually on the city phone. You know, they went to a student's house, someone threatened my life. I've gotten my mailbox knocked down. The police department has and this was last year. And then during the election, the current election. So I've always, you know, it's just gotten so political and so divisive. And so for me to come outside and see, a car driven through our yard or my mailbox down, or people calling on the phone and leaving messages or emailing even. So I've gotten threats before. So it just makes me a little uncomfortable to have the larger logo on the car.
Ms. Hampton, could you give us a list of the stipulations and rules when you have any company vehicle?
I mean, really, the only rule that applies as far as city vehicles are, I mean, you have to use the vehicle for city functions, and that you wouldn't be allowed to have someone that's not covered under the city's policy driving the vehicle. But essentially, it is for the purpose of city business.
So if you got in Savannah, can your family ride with you to Savannah to the meeting?
If you are driving, I mean, we have employees who have family members who have their family members in their car. We don't prohibit that. We understand it makes it convenient. I mean, it would be hard pressed if someone has a take-home vehicle that they wouldn't be able to have their spouse or their children in the car. But we do ask that the people who are driving the car be individuals who are insured on the insurance policy. And that applies to anyone who's driving the vehicle.
Okay, will the tag on the vehicle have the main road on it, City of Douglasville, or just the City of Douglasville government car?
We'll have a registered government tag for the vehicle.
It says
Under her
government.
name?
No. All city vehicles are under the city's name. We don't put individual, we don't purchase vehicles for individuals.
Okay.
Yeah, it has
Anyone else?
government on there.
Madam Mayor?
It has government on the tag, GOVT.
Councilman Watts?
Just one last comment. Back when I first got elected, I remember we had this conversation and the idea of having a big decal on the side of the car. I thought that was kind of, I didn't agree with that at the time. I know that some would make the argument about transparency, the fact that you can have a decal as small as maybe the bottom of a Coke bottle. I don't see that as drawing as much attention, and it makes the folks that want to fuss about transparency hush. But the idea of putting a big old a decal on the side of a car, I'm the mayor of Douglasville, follow me. I would agree that is out of line, but.
Okay, Councilman Estes, so we close it out?
I think, personally, I can't fully relate to the concerns that you would feel because of our obvious differences, but I certainly can appreciate that they are there. And to me, the fact that the license plate identifies it as a government vehicle is identification enough. I don't want to put anybody in any level of discomfort over something that's so small and, to me, unnecessary, so I have no problem with this.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else before we close it out? Okay, we'll put this on the agenda for Monday for a vote. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, Councilman Davis. I appreciate that. We'll move on then to Personnel and Organization Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have
You're
one
welcome.
item tonight. Adopt a
sir.
resolution to establish limited special city holidays on December 27th, 28th, and 29th, 2023, and December 23rd, 26th, and 27th on 2024. And Ms. Hampton will handle this.
Yes, sir. I've talked to some of you all, and definitely Mr. Chairman, about the dates of the normal holidays for Christmas and where they fall this year and in calendar year 2024. The holidays, we do typically get off Christmas Eve and the day of Christmas. They're falling in a week where we know collectively in areas of City Hall and some of our areas, we're going to be short-staffed with people taking vacation. We also have the issue that the majority of our employees have been employed for less than 4 years. Those employees don't have the amount of time that many of us who are long-tenured employees. So when you get to the end of the year, you don't always necessarily have the time to take off. It's been one of the things that a lot of our employees have requested. I know Ms. Callen has had employees in her department that have actually left and gone back to educational institutions, higher learning, because they get off. the last week of the year. We don't want to put any citizens in jeopardy where they're not able to do city business. So what we're asking for, if you were to grant these special limited holidays, on the days for those limited holidays, there will be a city manager on duty. So one of us will be on call. You all can call us anyway, but there will definitely be someone who is available. We also have 3 department directors on each of those days who will be able to respond to City Hall or any issue within 30 minutes. Also, your essential services such as police as well as public services will be available as well. And then finally, we are in the process of working with public services to install drop boxes. So for individuals who want to pay business license or drop-off plans, they will be able to do so. And we will publicize this via all of our social media outlets and everywhere that we can. But I do think it will be, again, another one of those retention efforts that we can offer to our employees. I know it's a big ask. I know that we don't do stay-at-home, you work from home policies. We don't have those sorts of things. But I've heard at least all week from employees, are they going to pass? All I've said is don't book plane tickets. Don't do anything until the elected officials make a decision on Monday. I don't want anybody to get their feelings hurt, but it is a big ask that have been asked for a long time about being able to have that week off for the staff.
Thank you, Ms. Hampton. Any questions or comments?
I have a comment, if I may, Chairman Watts. I just want to say I appreciate our city manager and all of our deputy assistant city manager and staff. You know, when you think about staff now, whatever we can do to help, because with inflation and everything, I just have to add it all in. And when we think about in our employees and family first, literally, if we don't look at other incentives, either they're going to go somewhere else or they're going to take off those days. So whatever we can do to, incentivize, I am all for that. Life is just too short, period.
You bring up one point I'll add before, while you all are thinking of your comments, we also have a significant amount of employees who are at the age where they have young children. So it's hard. I mean, with school's out, you're trying to find someone to care for your kids, and they're not necessarily at the age they can care for themselves. So for employees who don't have the time, who don't have childcare, this is a tremendous benefit.
And one other thing too, I just wanted to say, like during the time of the opening of the amphitheater, I not just that, but I cannot commend our staff. We pay overtime, but you can't get back the physical stress. I just appreciate, and they went way, way overboard and then some. So this is just a little ask.
Thank you. Councilwoman Burdanley, any other comments? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to echo what Councilman Burdanley said. This staff in this city has more than shown its dedication to the community, and I think this is a small price to pay to allow them to have some more time with their families, especially at this time of the year. I remember back many years ago when I was working for the man.
Not the man.
The man. And given the choices, my daughter was very young at the time, and I was offered more money, and I said I would much rather have the time. Because to me, salaries come and go, money comes and go, but time is priceless. You never get that back.
That's right.
And so if it's a matter of giving time, I think that's the best thing we can do. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
When I was the lifeguard over at Centennial Pool, which that's what it used to be called over Jesse, I don't remember ever getting Christmas off.
Santa
Anyway.
Claus, you have the
Had to
beard right
think
now.
about
You be a nice Santa.
Go ahead. Any other comments down that way? Councilwoman?
Thank you. Yes, this just makes my heart so happy. I know when we spoke about it a few weeks ago, and I've been keeping the secret because I wasn't really sure when staff would find out, and I didn't want to blow it, but you guys are all absolutely correct. It is our staff that keeps this city going and provides such amazing service to the entire community, and it's such a small token to be able to give everyone is time with their loved ones this time of year. I think it's so wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Here, here.
Before I ask for this to be placed on the consent agenda, so they don't have to wait until Monday to get their plane tickets.
So they can say yes, ditto.
Go ahead, dude,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
Plane reservations are safe.
Plane reservations,
Madam Mayor,
take it
that's
off.
all I had.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We'll move on. Thank you, Coach Watts and City Manager. We'll move on to item number 11, which is Public Improvement and Beautification Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Nicole Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're
We do
welcome.
have a couple of items this evening.
Yes, ma'am.
And the first is to authorize city staff to apply for the Georgia EPD Recycling and Waste Diversion Grant in the amount of $154,583.50. And I believe Ms. Chan Weeks is going to talk to us about that.
Hello. Chan Weeks, Executive Director of Keep Douglasville Beautiful, 8485 Courthouse Square West. So the Georgia Environmental Protection Division is offering the Recycling Waste Reduction Grant as part of the Solid Waste Trust Fund grant program. They are offering $2 million in funding for the state fiscal year of 2024. The Recycling Waste Reduction Grant furthers the goals of this Solid Waste Trust Fund by providing financial support to projects in Georgia to reduce solid waste, recover valuable materials, support manufacturing, and encourage innovation. We are asking to have authority to apply for the grant in the amount Councilwoman Miller stated of $154,583.50. This would be to cover 2 pieces of equipment for the new recycling center that we are in the process of hopefully starting construction on in 2024. We would be asking for 2 balers, one a horizontal baler and one a vertical baler.
Okay. And is this a matching grant?
It is not, but they look very favorably upon match. So we are showing that how much the recycling center is costing and obviously the commitment that we're putting into that.
Wonderful. Thank you. Questions, comments?
I have a question. Thank you, Chairwoman. Will we have to hire a consultant outside to write this grant?
No, actually, we have a special projects person that has been helping me write this.
Yeah.
So between the 2 of us, we have put this grant together.
Go for it. That's like a big check. A physical check. That's great. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just, I know you can't predict the future, but how do you think our odds are in getting, is this a grant that, the kind of grant that we have a good shot at getting at, or is this very competitive?
I believe so. We actually did apply for this grant last year that we hired a consultant to write. Now, in their defense, we were applying for about $1 million of a $2 million amount and did not receive any of that funding, but we were applying for actually infrastructure. This year, we are just applying for the equipment, and based on the grants that were given last year of the $2 million that was available last year, most of those were for smaller, grants and everything. And a lot of them were for equipment. So I think their main goal is to kind of spread the money, So I have a good feeling that we'll receive it this year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Mayor?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. It's good to see you, Ms. Weeks.
Thank you.
I just wanted, this is an addendum while she's in front of us. I wanted to talk about Bring One for the Chipper. Are we still doing that after Christmas?
Yes, we are. Saturday, January the 6th at the Home Depot on Douglasville Boulevard.
Okay, so we're doing that. And I wanted to compliment you on the farmer's market that we have. I know you extended the time, and it was very well attended, and it was great, as well as all of the new groups that have signed up for adopting a road. I see several signs going up all over the city, and I'm so pleased that we have all everyone that's jumping in and adopting a road and cleaning up the streets in the city of Douglasville. So thank you for the hard work that you do with Keep Douglasville Beautiful. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Anyone else? Nope. Thank you so much. Guys, is it okay with you guys then if we place this on the consent agenda? Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It looks like we need to keep you there. Darn, I feel like I might need Mr. Sam Jenkins help on making my letters bigger here. This is tough. The next item is to appoint 2 individuals to the Keep Douglasville Beautiful Board for a 3-year term, with each appointment expiring December 31st, 2026. That first person is Mr. Keandre Dunham for post 2, and the second is Ms. O'Shawn Rankin. And Ms. Chelsea Jackson, I think you were going to talk to us about that.
Yes, thank you so much, Councilwoman Miller. All this week and last week, myself, Councilman Adams, and Ms. Chan Weeks interviewed several individuals who wanted to be appointed to the KDB board. We interviewed 3 individuals for 2 positions, and that's Mr. Keandre Dunham and Mr. O'Shawn Rankin. The other individual, we did promise that we'll put them on the board elsewhere. She did say that she may not have the time commitment during the time that KDB actually meets, so we'll ensure that we put her on a board that meets her time commitment as it relates to her work schedule. But we did interview these 2 individuals. They're very excited to be appointed if Mayor and Council appoints them, and they had very good interviews.
Wonderful. Did any questions or comments of council? Yes, Mr. Estes.
Not a question. I'm not familiar with Rankin, but Mr. Dunham is fantastic. He will be great on anything that we can put him on, so
He's very
thank
good.
you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay, so then being as that we have 2, will we just do our paper ballot votes on Monday, or?
Well, you all haven't done paper ballot votes in a while, so these 2 were the recommended individuals from Councilman Adams from the 3 individuals. We can do paper ballots, but Councilman Adams wanted to put these 2 up for recommendation from the individuals that he interviewed.
Wait, am I misunderstanding? Do we have 2? Oh, we have 2 openings.
Yes, ma'am.
Darn, if only I could read. Okay, perfect. Well, I appreciate your work then. If it's okay with you guys, I say we place this on the consent agenda.
Looks like it's good.
Okay, perfect. Well, that is all I had.
Thank you, Councilman Miller, Councilwoman Miller, and Ms. Jackson, and Ms. Weeks. We appreciate this committee. We'll move on then to Public Relations Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Howard Estes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have no business this evening.
Thank you, sir. Public Relations Committee chaired by Councilmember Samuel Davis.
Public safety.
Public Safety, I'm sorry, what did I say? Public Safety Committee,
Public
Councilman
safety,
Davis.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I have 2 items, A and B. I'm gonna start with A. Hold a public hearing to consider the application for an alcoholic beverage license for the retail package sale of wine, malt beverage at the following establishment. Proposed licensing Quick Trip Corporation, DBA Quick Trip, number 1709, location 9293 Highway 5. Proposed outlet manager, Mr. Celine. The required fees have been paid into the finance department. Will Mr. Celine please come down?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I should have looked up. Pronounce your name and
Shabania
address
Cillian.
for me, please.
Shabania Cillian, in representation for Quick Trip, 9293 Highway 5 in Douglasville, Georgia, for Quick Trip Corporation.
So you are the proposed agent outlet manager,
Yes, sir.
and you have the background in alcohol and cigarettes and everything.
Yes, sir.
And how do you go about training your employees?
Each employee once hired for Quick Trip goes through training. During training, we have a responsible retailing policy that every individual is trained on. The standard for Quick Trip is making sure that we ID if the customer looks 40 years or younger, unless stated by the county or the state that it's 100% ID. But we do make sure that we ask for a valid ID, a valid or acceptable form of ID, whether it be a license, a passport. We key it in. Our POS screen does alert us if the individual is underage, so we just make sure that we're not selling to anyone underage, so we just key in the date of birth. As well as training, we do have quarterly meetings where we also make sure that we're discussing responsible retailing every quarter with each employee. So we do a lot of responsible retailing training with all of our individuals.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay, Mayor and Council?
I had a quick
Madam Mayor?
question. Thank you so much. Welcome, Ms. Celine. What the council member, the chairman asked if you had experience, how long have you had experience with this particular company or just in general, being an agent outlet manager? Is this your first time? And with alcohol, beverages, and all of that?
Yes, ma'am. This is my first time being an agent manager, but I've been working for Quick Trip for 8 years now, so it's just 8 years of various, just making sure that I'm IDing and everybody that I'm working with and all the people that work under me, make sure that we're taking it very seriously to make sure that we ID.
Okay. That's a busy store.
It's a very busy store.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Thank you so much. We wish you success.
Okay, and
Thank you, sir.
that's the new location, right?
The new location, yes, sir.
Yes, you gotta come in there.
Oh, I thought it was the one next to,
Anyone else?
oh, it's on the other side. Yes, it's going to be busy. I thought the other one.
Anyone else? Okay, at this time, we're gonna have to hold a public hearing,
Okay.
and we got to put it out there. At this time, I'm gonna open up the floor for 5 minutes for those that want to speak against that applicant for that location, and 5 minutes for those who want to speak for that application for that location. At this time, anyone in the audience want to come down and speak against? Come on down. The clock is ticking. 5 minutes.
Hey. Oh, my bad.
Oh, you on the next one.
You can come, you can stay down, you can stay down.
Oh, you ready?
You can come down.
Okay. Okay. 5 minutes for those who speak for the item. I see no takers. I'm gonna close this public hearing and come back on Monday. Where you go?
She's sitting down.
Okay, raise your hand. Come back on Monday and we'll get your decision, okay? Thank you for coming out. Okay, now you can come on down. Item B, hold a public hearing to consider a request for the change in agent outlet manager and the transfer of the alcoholic beverage license for the on-premises sale and consumption of wine and malt beverage at the Spirit Liquor at the following establishment: proposed license, Flores GA LLC, DBA Tasty Crab House, located 6842 Douglas Boulevard, Suite A. Current agent outlet manager, Mr. Tang. Proposed agent outlet manager, Ms. Zing. The required fees have been paid into the finance department, and want to hear from Mr. Zing. You go ahead and name it.
Okay, my name is Xinjue Zing. I'm working at Tasty Crab House. I will be a new licensee. So, and the location is 6842 Douglas Boulevard, Suite 8, Douglasville.
So how long you been to manage that location, and how experienced are you with the alcohol beverages?
Like, I just be a manager right there for like probably half years to right now. So, and we have a whole bunch like a training material to training an employee who serving the alcohol to the customers.
Do you have a company that come in that train your employees?
Yeah, we do training employees. So first of all, especially for the restaurant, and we have the full bars. So we always check in their IDs, make sure it's like we don't serving their like person who's under 21 years old, and we never gonna serving who is intoxicated. And if even the person who like want to give like in their drink to in their teen is under 21 years old, it's not allowed in our buildings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's hear from the mayor and council. Madam Mayor?
No, he answered all my questions. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, we have to hold a public hearing just like we
Thank you.
another. And at this time, 5 minutes for those who speak against and 5 minutes for those who speak for this item. At this time, we open up the public hearing. Okay, we hear from the people that speak for this item, 5 minutes. I see no takers. I close this public hearing. And if you come back on Monday, raise your hand. Come back on Monday, and we give you an answer, okay? Thank you. That's all I have, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. We'll move on to the next committee, which is Recreation, Culture, and Tourism Committee. That's chaired by Councilmember Chris Watts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome.
We have one item.
Yes,
To
sir.
reappoint 2 individuals to the City of Douglasville's Convention and Visitors Bureau, CVB, Advisory Board for a 2-year term, with each reappointment expiring December 31st, 2025. Ms. Emily Leitner is one of the candidates, and Patty Wensick. And that's an at-large. I guess that one is the at-large, and the Emily Leitner would represent the Cultural Arts Council, and Ms. Chelsea Jackson will handle this.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Councilman Watts. Chelsea Jackson, 6695 Church Street. As Councilman Watts stated, there are 2 individuals that are currently serving on the CVB board that would like to be reappointed. That's Ms. Leitner and Ms. Patty Wink. No other individuals like to be appointed to the CVB board at this time. And I have spoken with both individuals and have in writing that they would love to be reappointed.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson, any questions or comments? We always like it when folks are willing to serve these high-paying positions that we have available to the city. So if there's no other questions or comments, so no one else?
No, sir.
Okay. If no one else is going to comment, we will place this on the consent agenda for Monday. That would be all right.
It looks good.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, that's all I had tonight under Recreation, Culture, and Tourism.
Thank you, Coach, and thank you to our Deputy City Manager. We'll move on then to Technology Committee. That's chaired by Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, City Councilmember Terry Miller.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's mercifully no business under the Technology Committee at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Transportation Committee, our last committee, chaired by Councilmember Dr. LaShawn Burdanley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We
You're
have 2
welcome.
items tonight.
Mhm.
The first item is to authorize the mayor to sign the request to move from conditional to full approval letter and authorize city staff to transmit the letter to Georgia Department of Transportation. Mr. Thompson.
All right. Good evening,
Good evening.
Madam Mayor and Council. Marcus Thompson, City Engineer, 6701 Church Street, Douglasville, Georgia, 30134. All right, so if you guys recall, previously a while back, city staff recently submitted a local administered project recertification application to the Georgia Department of Transportation, basically for recertification, which occurs every 3 years. Post that submission, GDOT granted us basically a conditional approval, and I can give you a good example of what the conditions are. For instance, we're looking to hire a consultant for the preliminary engineering phase for the Fairburn Road Corridor Improvements Project. So with that being said, we'll have to put together a selection package to present to you guys, but that also has to go before GDOT for their approval. So basically, this letter before you will cut that process out where we have to submit things to GDOT for their approval. It's basically for efforts for better efficiencies and to allow the city to independently conduct engineering design procurement. GDOT is just basically transitioning the condition to full procurement approval with the signing of this letter. So.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. So I am delighted of the certification, which is every 3 years. I just wanted to say, I want to caution that although we have the certification, I'm glad to hear the hire of the engineer to have the extra person in. Our communication with GDOT has not been effective in the last 6 months or more in regards to this federal route. In 2021, we had our groundbreaking. It's 2023. So I just wanted to put that on record. I know what we have to sign here, but I just don't want to make sure we're just rubber stamping things and forgetting how we move forward. I mean, 2024 in my book is tomorrow. So are there any other comments from our mayor and council? Okay, so this is the first step that we do is sign this with GDOT, and they send it back with approval, yay or nay, or?
Yes,
Just
ma'am,
near-
that's correct.
okay.
And then that allows us as city staff to move forward with selecting the consultant
Good.
to start the preliminary engineering phase for the segment of Fairburn Road from the new alignment to Highway 78.
So what's the timeline with the submission, the response, hopefully from GDOT within a timely manner? And then what has been the timeline in the past, since this is every 3 years? Do you have like an idea?
I'm not quite certain. Marcus, were you here when because I don't know if we've done this letter before, if I'm
No,
not
this
mistaken.
is new.
Familiar with
Yeah,
this
this is
first
new,
time.
so, but I would
Okay.
assume, once if the elected officials were to approve this on Monday and you were to send this over, when would you get back feedback from GDOT on their response?
That's hard to.
It's hard to put that, yes.
It's
Right.
difficult.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm not going to ask this to be put on the consent agenda. I will be sending out some information in regards to the Highway 92 project. Many of you know that has been like a cradle in my, so I will continue to advocate for it. I just want to make sure we're not rubber stamping stuff. This is something that our staff have to do, but to bring in a hired engineer, I think that's a plus. The communication just hasn't been where it needs to be. And 8 months and plus is not acceptable. It's not. All right. And since there are no comments, the second item, thank you, Mr. Thompson.
All right, thank you.
Okay. The second item is to adopt a resolution approving a projects list for the city's application for the Georgia Department of Transportation Local Maintenance and Improvement Grant, which is also known as the LMIG. For 2024, authorize city staff to submit the LMIG application, approve the mayor to sign the local government affidavit and certification, and the LMIG statement of final project expenditures in connection with that application. Mr. Roberts.
Excuse me. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Greg Roberts, Public Services Department, 6695 Church Street. I have too many addresses in my head.
It's okay.
This is a little bit more expanded list than we normally put out. This is a total of 31 streets. I think we've got a good cross-section of the entire city, including all wards. If we've missed anybody, I don't know who we missed. One of the things that I say the last couple of years, thanks to the citizens for the SPLOST approvals over the last few years, because it has allowed us to catch up from where we had gotten behind years ago. We're able to catch up. So this is an estimated $2.5, maybe $2.6 million resurfacing project. It is combined with the LMIG, and GDOT has allotted for us $389,832 on the LMIG, the annual LMIG allotment. So the other 2.3 million that would finish this out will come from SPLOST funds. And I have had conversation with Ms. Callen and her staff, and we're good to go. We would submit this next month with the council approval, and if we need to get feedback tonight or Monday night and then come back with more feedback, we just need to have it submitted by February 1, 2024. It would take us a while to get it under contract, but I would hope to have a contractor ready to roll by March or April,
Right.
similar to last year.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. And this is something we've done in the past. I don't know if all of you have had a chance to look at this specifically, just in detail. So I'd suggest maybe over the weekend or, as soon as we can. We know we vote on Monday. If you have any comments, if you can email Mr. Roberts, you can copy me on it if you want to. But do we have any comments at this time?
I have a quick comment, Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Roberts. We appreciate this local maintenance and improvement grant that we always apply for with GDOT, and thank you for what you do in the city with our public works and these resurfacing of these streets. So the 31 streets that you have delineated out, they are fairly distributed between the wards. Is there going to be a ranking, how how you've done before in the past with AECom, and you had AECom come in as an independent, so it wouldn't be like Mr. Roberts says, this is streets I want in this ward, but they did a ranking on the deterioration of the streets or who needs to be resurfaced first, or is it just going to be the 31 streets are distributed and the RFP goes out and you resurface all 31 streets at the same time?
Well, it's a combination of everything you just mentioned.
Okay.
We have AECom update their list about every 4 years.
Yes, sir.
And so this list was updated, I think, 21, 22, Todd Dresdo.
Okay.
He gets to keep his job another day. But no, Todd is a great asset, and he and I work together on this. And this does, the PCI there is the rating numbers on that list, and they're in varying colors. So we've got a lot of them that have what we used to say would be a 3. You remember we used to have a list of like 0 to 10?
Yes, sir.
Now we're doing it, we're using like 39.9, so it kind of gives a wider range for streets that, for their condition. So for example, you see a lot of them there in the red, and those are the ones that have to be resurfaced probably sooner than others.
Okay.
And what does dictate some of these numbers, even some of these, for example, Western Pines Court is a 7.4. But the problem with that one is, and Todd and I talked about it, and we literally just added this one last Friday. We pulled a couple of streets to put that one because parts of that street is failing. And so, because it's a long street, and so I didn't want to go in there and piecemeal a street. Citizens don't always like that, to go in there and halfway,
Yes, sir.
pave 300 or 400 feet and leave another 1,000 feet unpaved.
Right.
So that's just catching that street up to date. And so there might be a couple others. Creek Ridge Court is like that. It's a 62.9, but that number does not express to you the failure points.
I see.
And so that's how we've handled this. There are 3 streets in the Sweetwater Creek subdivision in Ward 5, and those streets, we added Mallory Lane to sort of tie it in with those other 2 streets to make them
Make it
all
seamless,
work out.
yes.
Yeah.
So those 3. Now, and the last question is, we had our ADA report earlier in the meeting, and I know that you were here, if we can remember back that long, it's been a long meeting. When you resurface these streets, will that be taken into consideration? Are you going to widen them? I know we can't widen because you'd have to buy right away and all that stuff. So is that going to be on your, is that take into consideration anything about the ADA streets that they were talking about that may have been in disrepair or whatever?
No, ma'am, not for these streets.
Okay.
These are all streets with curb and gutter.
Okay.
And some of these areas do have sidewalks, some of them may not. But this is just bringing the street
Streets
up to
up, but
current
not the
and getting it
sidewalks or
resurfaced.
anything else that was
That's right.
brought up
This
in
would be a
ADA.
slightly separate. Now, there will be some streets that we may come back to you with next year with spliced, but I can't identify what those might be.
Okay, so this is not coordinate or correlate to the ADA recommendations?
It's not related to that particular.
Asphalt. It's just asphalt, no curb and gutters and streets. All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes, ma'am. Every question is a great question, Madam Mayor. Are there any comments? So I will not put this on the consent agenda so you can look at it. And then also, Mr. Roberts, and also to our city manager, have we considered applying for any infrastructure money like that the federal government has right now to add to what we're asking for?
I know, I think
Just in
Marcus
general.
Thompson was you attended a webinar for the infrastructure bill. So we can give you some more information on that as to what he was able to find, but I know he was at the webinar.
That's fine.
Appreciate that, Director Roberts. And I wanted to compliment Mr. Todd. He came in an emergency situation and plugged the lights in, and we had, I don't know how many people in the plaza. We appreciate that, coming out of his, I don't know if you were shopping or whatever, but you came and saved the day. We had a whole lot of people in the plaza, and it was dark, and you made the lights come on like God said, let there be lights. So thank you so much, and thank you for your teamwork, and we appreciate your report as well, Engineer Thompson. So do we have any other business to come before committees tonight from the city council members? I don't see any. Updates from city staff. Our city attorney, Mr. Joe Dotson.
No business, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Our staff attorney, Ms. Miranda Jordan. Thank you, ma'am. Our police department? Thank you. Thank you for standing in for the chief. Our city manager?
Just to say thank you all on behalf of the staff for the special limited holidays. So for those who will be working, they'll be happy to know they get holiday pay, and for those who won't be working, they'll be happy to have the time off. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, City Manager Hampton. Comments from citizens and delegates. If you sustain the meeting and you'd like to speak to us, you have 5 minutes to come forward and give us your name and address for the record, and you can talk to us about any business germane to the city of Douglasville. So we welcome you to come to the podium. All right, Councilman Davis says we have no takers. If we don't have any other business to come before us this evening, this meeting is adjourned.